Death, taxes, and a Royce Lewis injury. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day to those who celebrate. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and let's catch people up on the news, Scott. There were a lot of injuries like there are every weekend, and the latest, Royce Lewis, unfortunately diagnosed with a left hamstring strain on Sunday. Looked pretty bad. He came up lame after trying to sprint to first base. Expected to start the season on the IL. We're still waiting to learn more about this, but my guess is he has to drop down the rankings at least a little bit. Scott, what are you thinking here on Royce Lewis?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's not good for my Tout Wars team, first of all. 15-team Roto, drafted him as my starting third baseman. No backup. I knew it was dangerous, but I did it anyway, and now I will have to scour the waiver wire for a fill-in third baseman in a deep league like that. Not great. As far as moving him down the rankings, Royce Lewis, well, we don't know the severity of the hamstring injury yet, and we don't have a grade for it. That could range anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, it feels like. So it's hard to say exactly where I'm going to put him, at the very least, behind Mark Vientos, behind Isak Paredes, behind Jake Berger. But if it ends up being on the more severe end, I might drop him all the way behind Alec Bohm, Eugenio Suarez, Max Muncy, and Matt Shaw. You know, it kind of just depends. So either dropping to the end of his tier or dropping to the end of the tier below.
If we just take a look at the Minnesota Twins, trying to figure out who might gain value as a result here, it feels like 2 out of 3 of Jose Miranda, Brooks Lee, and Edouard Julien will be in the lineup as a result of Royce Lewis getting hurt. Do you have interest in any of those names in deeper leagues?
Well, it depends how deep you're talking. If you're talking a league where like 300 plus players are rostered, let's say 350 players are rostered. The only one, I don't know that any would be a high priority target for me. It would probably be needs based. Brooks Lee has the most upside, but I think all of their upside is kind of in the lower mid tier in terms of how impactful they could be for fantasy. I think probably Jose Miranda would have the clearest path to playing time, and he might be some batting average help at a place in Roto leagues where it's hard to get, but still we're talking pretty low end option.
We had another big injury this weekend. Tyler Stephenson will begin the season on the IL with a low-grade oblique strain. I guess the fact that it's low-grade and it happens here in mid-March, maybe he only misses the first couple weeks of the season. Tyler Stephenson, his backup here is Jose Trevino. He got hit on the hand by a foul tip this weekend too, so hopefully he's healthy. But Scott, is Tyler Stephenson still worth drafting in a 1-catcher league? And if he falls down the draft in 2-catcher leagues, do you have interest in maybe buying the dip here on Tyler Stephenson?
No to the first question. He's not worth drafting in 1-catcher leagues. He was barely worth drafting in 1-catcher leagues, was Stephenson. And the reason you would draft him in a 1-catcher league is because you just wanted to play it safe. You didn't want to shoot for the upside of an Austin Wells or a Gabriel Moreno, which in a shallower league, you probably should have shot for the upside anyway. But definitely now that Stephenson's not even a safe pick, he's out for 1-catcher leagues. He's probably dropping to just ahead of Sean Murphy in my rankings, which puts him around 15th at catcher. So I'd still make an investment in Stephenson in a 2-catcher league. Sean Murphy is falling quite a ways outside the top 300 or even 325 in some of those 2-catcher drafts. I think I'd prioritize Tyler Stephenson over him because I have a better idea what to expect from Stephenson when he gets back. But you can probably get him cheaper than where I rank him with this injury news.
Yeah, so Tyler Stephenson's ADP before this, he was a top 150 pick in 2-catcher leagues, and I just took him in a slow draft at 234. So he is dropping quite a bit, and he might not miss that much time. Maybe it's just 2-3 weeks, find a replacement for the first, couple weeks of the season, and then, hopefully we do get that high floor option in a 2-catcher league. But again, that's Tyler Stephenson, who will begin the season on the IL with a low-grade oblique strain. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
Welcome back in FBT Express. It was a rough weekend for the Rangers pitching staff. Their rotation took some big hits. Cody Bradford will start the season on the IL due to left elbow soreness. He won't throw for at least 4 weeks. And Jon Gray was hit by a comebacker on Friday, later diagnosed with a fractured right wrist. It sounds like he'll be out at least 6 weeks. So that means come on down the Vandy boys, Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker. Leiter has looked pretty good this spring, though he has been a little bit more wild in his last 2 starts. And then Kumar Rocker has looked pretty awful, Scott. Do you have any interest in either one, Leiter, Rocker, as a late round pick now?
Well, certainly more than before I knew they both had rotation spots. And I'm not totally sure Rocker does, given how poorly his spring has gone. I'm actually a little higher on Leiter right now, who's introduced that kick change as another swing and miss offering. A lot of swing and miss potential here with Leiter. Just maybe too many walks to be palatable. Certainly, if you're safeguarding whip, that would be a dangerous choice for Leiter. But you definitely see the upside. I like him as a very late pitching option in leagues of some size. But I think over Leiter, I would still prefer Tomoyuki Sugano, who should be a plus in whip, and Richard Fitz of the Red Sox, who I've really come around to.
All right, well, we had to hold our collective breaths, Scott, on Friday as Austin Riley was hit by a pitch on his right hand. Thankfully, x-rays were negative. He was back in the lineup on Saturday. We had just drafted him in that NFBC draft we did as a team on Thursday night, but it seems like all is well here with Austin Riley, right?
Certainly seems that way.
We did get a couple other updates this weekend as well. Gunnar Henderson said Saturday that his right intercostal feels, quote, a lot better, and he's hoping to be ready for opening day. Speaking of the Orioles, Grayson Rodriguez should begin a throwing progression early this week. Brandon Hyde called Rodriguez's progression a restart, which means it's going to take him some time to build up. Won't be ready for opening day, but this feels like positive news, Scott. And Chris and I both got Grayson Rodriguez for $5 or less in our respective Tout Wars auctions this weekend. But overall, this sounds like good news for now, at least, on Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, and I got him for $4 in the Memorial Magazine League even before this good news came out. So I think if you can still get him for that cheap, you absolutely should. The fact that he's going to get right back to pitching tells me that it wasn't such a serious injury. Now, it's possible anytime, the structure of the pitching arm is so delicate that any injury, even if not a structural one, could be the thread that unravels the whole thing, maybe because he's compensating for the injury or whatever. It just something else results from that initial, they're not even really classifying it as a strain in the elbow, just inflammation. But that's just to say, if another shoe drops for Grayson Rodriguez, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. But this is about as positive of an update as you could have hoped for. And it does give me hope that he'll be back pitching probably before the end of April.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today. We broke down a bunch of other news from this weekend as well, so check that out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.